Hi everyone, my name is Tomek and I'm a QA in Grand Parade for 2 years now. And today I want to convince you that low-level testing is also for the QAs, not only for developers. So the first slide, I want to show you that, because you may wonder why it's even worth to bother about testing framework, which is dedicated to only one front-end library, only for the React. And here we got the results of the survey that was carried out on more than 5,000 responders. So it's pretty statistically significant. The question was, which of JavaScript library or framework would you regard as essential to you on the majority of your projects? So as you can see, the React won by with the result of 30%. It doesn't mean that it's the most popular front-end library, because for now it's jQuery. But the popularity of React is rising and rising, and I think the soon situation will be different. React would be the most popular one. Probably the most of you know this graphic. It's testing pyramid. Of course, the new conceptions appears, and you know the different thinking about testing. But it's still the most popular and in most cases the proper way to apply your tests, with a huge number of low-level testing on unit, component, and integration level, and a small amount of UI automated tests and some exploratory testing. I think a lot of you also know the common entry pattern, which is actually reverse pyramid with a lot of end-to-end automated tests and the small amount of unit tests. So why we should avoid, why it's a pattern, why we should avoid this? So about end-to-end testing, there are some pros. Yeah, we testing what the users actually see. We test the real look and feel. So it's a good thing. We are testing also usually fully integrated app, sometimes with mock backend, sometimes with real backend, which can be a pro and a con, to be honest. But the tests are really time-consuming. Sorry for that. Tests are really time-consuming, and tests are fragile. Requires a lot of maintenance. So the conclusion is the end-to-end testing is really good, is great for testing the user flows, but not so good for testing edge cases and behaviors of single components. There are also lacking on the fields of CI, of continuous integration, and of providing the quick feedback to us and to developers. And how the Enzyme helps you. So Enzyme is a framework for low-level testing for the only React applications. It's developed by Airbnb with a huge community, and can be used to test SQL components and also the integration between the front-end components. Enzyme can be used to render the full HTML DOM, document object model of component. I will explain it during the next slides. It also allows you to simulate some HTML methods like click, focus, blur, change. A very useful thing for the QAs, you can use the CSS selectors. So if you are familiar with end-to-end testing in Selenium, it will come easy. Few words, I don't want to go too deep into this, about rendering in Enzyme. There are 3 types. The shallow, which is commonly used in unit tests because it's render the component in strong isolation without the children. The mount, which is very useful for us for the QAs, it renders the full document object model and the children of the component. What is the difference? For example, if you have the input field which has validation and calls this validation is like children method, and this validation will provide you the validation error, render it in DOM. In shallow, you cannot test the full communication. You will know that your component calls the validation method, but you don't know the result. And in mount, you will know the result, you will see it on document object model. There is also render, but it's for the static components and has limited usage. So how the document object model looks like? Generally speaking, it's really familiar. It looks pretty like the real HTML. Here we got the real HTML from the developer tools, and here we got document object model from mounted component. It's the same component. As you can see, there are some differences, but we got the same HTML things like the div form group, label for the component, it's here, and the input, the component here. Okay, so now I will try to show you that it's really easy to test. Okay, but first, the tricky part is here. We are mounting component here, and usually we are putting some props. It's only the example, it's without props. Sometimes you will need help from developers to mount the component in proper way. So I will show you the application. It's a really basic form with some inputs and with submit button. I will focus on this component, on the component name, which has some validation rules. For example, you cannot add special signs, except of space or apostrophe. And I will test this case. First, I will show you that we got here really HTML document object model. So I will console log the element, which is here wrapped. And also I have here for the help the input component. The name input, just the input. I found it by the ID name. I will also console log it. It might be something between. I don't need application anymore. I will run my tests. I don't know if everyone can see it from the behind. Okay, so here we got document object model of our component with everything, with the form group, with label. And at the bottom, I have only my input, which were found by the ID name, which can be seen here and here. So now I want to perform some action. I probably don't need the name input anymore. I want to simulate some action. I want to change the value of the component to trigger validation. So I will use special sign. It's not intuitive at the beginning, but you can use to it easily. I will skip this one. Okay. So now my console log is after the action. And as can you see, here we got the rendered error with the text. Use only letters, space, or the apostrophe. So we got the act part of the test. Now we have to assert. I'm using here chai assertions. So I will try to find this error inside our component. We got dot for the class name. And now I will check if this error is really here. As the result of this wrapper find, we'll get the array. So we can check if the length of the array is equal to 1. And what can we see? Actually it is, because the test passed. So we got the assert part. Of course, you can also try to check if this error has text. I will put anything here to get assertion error to show you that tests actually work. As you can see, the test failed on this assertion. And we got assertion error expected. Use only letters, spaces, or this special sign to equal something else. Too much. Okay, so now everything should be fine. I will remove console log. We don't need it anymore. As you can see, the test passed, so everything is okay. Also, we can test the positive scenario with the proper value. So we remove the special sign and add space. And maybe apostrophe. As you can see, both tests passed. At the end of this live demo, I will show you how it works for the huge number of tests. It took approximately 13 seconds to run the 365 tests. So it's, in my opinion, very quick. So going back to presentation, what can I say about pros and cons of Enzyme? Tests are very quick, as you saw on my demo. Tests are stable and browser agnostic, and can be easily run on continuous integration, so we have the really quick feedback, and as you probably know, the quick feedback is a cheaper fix. From the cons, we cannot test the real look and feel aspects. We can test if the error is rendered on HTML, but we are not sure if the user sees this error. This can be messed up, the div can be too small, or color of the text can be white, everything, yeah? Tests are browser agnostic, so it can be also the con, especially if we're talking about this look and feel. And we cannot test with the real backend. We have to mock everything. We are not testing the integration with the full integration with backend. Okay, so we have reached the end of the presentation, so the questions have to be answered. I hope my live coding convinced you that it's easy to write the test in Enzyme, it's easy to write the low-level tests. From my experience, it's really useful to at least know how the low-level testing works, and to be able to evaluate the work of my developers in case of in field of testing. Yeah, if I can evaluate that some behaviors are tested on lower level, I can skip it on end-to-end level, so I can save the time for the feedback, for the maintenance, and I can ensure that I've got the proper testing pyramid. So thank you, and I'm waiting for the questions.